evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's nightly news. On to the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, congratulates the Algerian writer Yasmina Khadra for winning a World Literary Prize in Spain, honoring the Algerian literature. The President of the Republic terminates the duties of the Governor of Ghilizan, Sami Majoubi, and appoints Kamal Berkan as his successor. The President of the Republic conducts a partial reshuffle at the level of Secretaries General in some provinces. And as part of commemorating the National Shaheed or Martyr Day, the Ahmed Abana movie is screened in Paris, retracing his brave struggle for Algeria's independence. Welcome back. First off, the President of the Republic congratulated the Algerian writer Mohamed Mouleshoul, known as Yasmina Khadra, in a message which reads, "I congratulate you on this international victory, which you obtained from the friendly country of Spain, and which demonstrated once again your great abilities in the field of the novel. Congratulations to Algerian culture and my best wishes for further success." End message. Additionally, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, terminated the duties of Sami Majoubi as a governor of Ghilizan province and appointed Kamal Berkan as his successor. In other news, the President of the Republic conducted a partial reshuffle movement in the core of the Secretaries General of the provinces under the suggestion of the Minister of Interior, Local Collectivities and Territory Planning. The movement includes the promotion of 14 officials as Secretaries General of the province. This includes Rashid Sherit, province of Adrar, Nasser Zarouqi, province of Biskra, Murad Rahmouni, province of Blida, Fatah Lilou, province of Jijil, Abdel Hakim Fakrawi, province of Annaba, Mohamed Ben Belkhamla, province of Galma, Fathi Lila, province of Msila, Akli Ouali, province of Al Bayt, Mohamed Nasser, province of Burj Barilij, Abdel Hamid Habas, province of Tismsit, Zahra Bospa, province of Ain Timoshint, Masoud Slimani, province of Nabas, Hisham Mahi, province of Tugurt, Belqasim Boudia, province of Janet. Four other Secretaries General were transferred to other provinces, namely Abdel Qadir Saadi to the province of Saida, Diab Bousmat to the province of Tarif, Qasi Amran to the province of Tindouf, Abdelaziz Jouadi to the province of Khanshla. The President terminated the duties of 6 Secretaries General, namely Mohamed Qoura of the province of Saida put to retirement, El-Haj Khutal, province of Msila, Khira Tilli of the province of Al-Bayad, Tunsi Boudin of the province of Al-Tarif, Rabah Ali of the province of Khanshla, Nouruddin Saidani of the province of Niabbas, also put to retirement. Tasked by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, arrived today in Johannesburg to take part in the G20 ministerial meeting slated for tomorrow on Friday under the presidency of the Republic of South Africa. The meeting is a key step in the preparation of G20 during the last trimester of the year. On the eve of the G20 ministerial meeting, Ahmed Attaf took part in a coordination meeting that gathered African countries invited to take part in the G20 proceedings. It was initiated by South Africa and included Algeria, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Angola as the current president of the African Union. The Foreign Minister held bilateral talks with the Minister of Foreign Relations of the Federal Unit of Brazil, Mauro Vieira. The meeting was an opportunity to review the momentum in bilateral relations, notably in economy, and to search for horizons to raise it to higher levels up to the complementary characteristics of both countries. Both ministers reviewed a set of international and regional issues of common interest, topped by the developments in the Palestinian cause and in the Middle East. On to the government's meeting, chaired by the Premier Nadir Al-Arabawi, devoted to the continuation of the examination of the preliminary bill on the Maritime Code, which is part of the implementation of the guidelines of the President of the Republic relating to the creation of a national port authority, whose objective is to develop and modernize national ports and thus improve the efficiency of the public port service and the economic activities of foreign trade. Furthermore, in order to enhance the value of mineral resources and strengthen their contribution to the diversification of national economy, the government listened to a presentation on the situation of marble in Algeria, the development prospects of this sector. In the same setting, the government listened to a presentation on the mechanisms for operating micro-activity zones at the level of municipalities intended for young project holders, small and medium-sized enterprises, and startups. As regards monitoring the improvement of environmental protection and the fight against industrial pollution, the government examined the presentation on the management of industrial discharges at Wad al-Harraj and Wad al-Ghaya. It also took stock of the progress of several projects related to the development of the road network in the province of Algiers. And finally, the government listened to a presentation on the Algerian Startup Expedition Exploratory Program decided by the President of the Republic for the benefit of Algerian startups, with the aim of supporting innovative companies and offering them the opportunity to explore the most advanced innovation ecosystems in the world. On the sidelines of her participation in the high-level meeting of the Security Council in New York on the practice of multilateralism, reform and improvement of global governance, the Secretary of State for African Affairs, Selma Mansouri, held a series of bilateral meetings with several heads of delegations participating in this meeting, in addition to a number of UN officials, where she held meetings with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Uganda and the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Sierra Leone, a meeting that brought together representatives of Group A+3, which includes Algeria, Somalia, Sierra Leone, and Guyana, which was also held. It was dedicated to exchanging views on files on the agenda of the Security Council, especially those related to African and Latin American countries. The Secretary of State also held meetings with the UN Special Advisor on Africa and the Assistant Secretary General for Africa. The discussions during the two meetings focused on the prospects for strengthening the Algerian UN partnership in the field of peacekeeping, especially in Africa. On to the operational report of the People's National Army's activity in the past week. In the context of the fight against terrorism and during a qualitative operation in Ain Gizem in the 6th Military Region, detachments of the PNA recovered 2 Kalashnikov submachine guns, 1 machine gun, and a quantity of ammunition, while other PNA detachments arrested 9 support elements to terrorist groups during separate operations across the national territory. In the framework of the fight against organized crime and the continuation of the tireless efforts aimed at countering the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the PNA intercepted in coordination with the different security services and operations across the military regions 34 drug traffickers and averted attempts to introduce 7 quintals and 68 kilograms of processed kief through the borders with Morocco, while 4.39 kilograms of cocaine and over 67,000 psychotropic tablets were seized. In Tamanras, Burj Mukhtar, in Salah and Ingizam, detachments of the People's National Army arrested 420 individuals and 13 other individuals who were also arrested. 2 automatic pistols, 21 quintals of tobacco, and 77 tons of foodstuffs intended for smuggling and speculation were also seized during separate operations. Similarly, border guards sorted at the level of our national coasts attempts at illegal immigration proceeded to save 221 individuals aboard traditionally made boats, while 406 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested across the national territory and communique. Coming up in our news edition. The Makhzen regime steps up his human rights violations against activists against the normalization with a Zionist entity. On the occasion of the Day of Shahid or Martyr, the Algerian Cultural Center in Paris commemorated this day with a screening of the film Zabana, which depicts the horrors of colonial crimes, in particular the Shahid Ahmed Zabana's tragic story. This took place in the presence of several militant historians as well as youngsters, Afaf Belhouchet and Manal Maafou.
Ahmed Zabana's story is one of a sacrificed generation, young fighters challenging the colonial machine at the risk of their own lives. Beyond its historical scope, the film starkly highlights a reality still little known in France, where debates on colonial history resurface regularly.
Malheureusement, on a l'impression.
Unfortunately, it feels like other memories are resurfacing, with Algeria still the main target of denial over a war that caused over 1.5 million deaths and is still denied today. The nuclear test, the infumades, most French people remain unaware of it all.
In the room, an emotional atmosphere prevailed. Some discover the story of Ahmed Zabana. Others rediscover it under a more intimate light. His imprisonment, his trial, his execution, but also the complicity of the French political class in the atrocities committed in the name of the French Republic.
It was an emotional film and a bit hard to watch. We had our own image about the ex-president, François Mitterrand, who was cruel towards Algerians.
If France still questions its colonial memory today, especially in a year marked by the far right and its allies, Zabana reminds us all of the intensity of the struggle and the sacrifices made, an emotion shared by young generations after searching for meaning.
C'était vraiment très très émouvant. Très difficile.
It was moving and very difficult to watch. Today we commemorate the day of the Shaheed or martyr, and I am proud to carry our flag in their memory, especially as an Algerian living abroad. It is an honor for me that events like this exist.
At a time when questions of memory are at the heart of debates in France, the screening of Zabana at the Algerian Cultural Center stands as a necessary reminder, a cry from the past to those who seek to shape the future.
For centuries, Africa was subjected to exploitation, plundering of resources, and crimes against humanity under the colonial rule. Today, African leaders are demanding justice to be served. During the African Union Summit, several countries called for the condemnation of colonialism and slavery, as well as the horrific crimes against humanity which hindered the continent and its people's development. More insights with Min Al-Mafa.
The African Union Summit was marked by persistent calls for a strong condemnation of colonial-era crimes and their lasting consequences. Leaders are demanding the adoption of a resolution officially recognizing slavery, the slave trade, and colonization as crimes against humanity with no statute of limitations.
The decision to condemn colonial-era crimes and genocide committed against the continent's people is both a necessity and a matter of dignity. As one of the world's major international organizations, the AU must take a firm stance on these historical injustices. These are crimes against humanity and atrocities of unacceptable brutality. Africa is asserting its rights and urging its leaders to continue this pursuit of truth.
The genocide committed against African peoples hindered their development. That is why the AU's move marks a major step towards recognition and historical justice. Thanks to the mobilization of key nations handling this issue, such as Algeria, South Africa, Togo, and Ghana, the implementation of this decision is expected to yield positive results. Western powers, particularly France, have long exploited Africa's resources, a reality this process seeks to address. These nations have a strong history of fighting for liberation, justice, and the establishment of strong modern states. Algeria and South Africa in particular have played a pivotal role in the continent's struggle for emancipation, making their leadership in this effort both significant and vital to Africa's path toward justice and recognition. Africa's push for justice, recognition, and sovereignty marks a turning point in its efforts to break free from the lasting impacts of colonial exploitation and historical injustice.
To Morocco now, where the Makhzen regime is stepping up forced evacuations against families who find themselves homeless overnight. A move that has worsened the situation throughout the country, already on the brink of a social and economic implosion. More details in this report compiled by Salim Mirah.
Since the normalization agreement, relations between the Makhzen regime and the Zionist entity have witnessed a greater impetus through diplomatic exchanges and official visits paid by high-ranking officials, such as the recent visit of the Zionist entity's Minister of Transport. Driven by the illusion that this alliance will open economic and strategic opportunities, the Makhzen regime seems to forget that the Zionist entity acts solely for its own interests. Recent statements made by the Moroccan ambassador to the United States regarding the freeze on trade between the two parties have sparked strong reactions from observers who described them as alarming. The war in Gaza and the Middle East tensions have led to the suspension, or rather the freezing of our cooperation. We said public opposition to the normalization with the Zionist entity remains unabated. The Makhzen regime is escalating its repressive policies. In recent weeks, forced evictions have surged, displacing thousands of Moroccans from their homes and fueling an atmosphere of growing unrest. Everything is collapsing around us. We are helpless and don't know what to do. We have nowhere to go. This regime has abandoned us to our fate. Where we are supposed to live, we have nowhere left to go. Shame on you, leaders. Determined to side with the Zionist entity and a bid to strengthen its grip on power, the Makhzen regime continues to step up human rights violations against its own people, who are already bearing the brunt of a growing economic and social crisis.
And while Morocco reinforces ties with the Zionist entity, the latter continues its military escalation in the Palestinian enclave. The death toll reached 48,297 mortars and 111,000 wounded since October the 7th. 6 new mortars and 11 other wounded were recorded in the last 24 hours, despite the ceasefire in effect. Sports now, the derby between Olympic Akbou and GS Kabylie ended in a goalless draw. MC Iran defeated ES Mostaganem with 1-0. As for the third game, bringing together US Biskra to MC El Bayad, it ended as well in a goalless draw.
يحاول يوزع داخل منطقة العمليات بالراس جانبية
ناحية عزيز مولاي يتوغل يحاول يبحث عن التسديد يسدد أول هدف لصالح فريق مولودية وهران. أول هدف لفريق مولودية وهران. عزيز مولاي يسجل أول هدف ويضع المولودية الوهرانية في المقدمة. واللحظة.
And with that, we end tonight's bulletin. Thank you so much for joining us. See you tomorrow.